Hello guys and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're going to be reacting to Konstantin rating the Sidemen setup. So we're going to go a bit into depth, see which Sidemen has the best setup and what we could improve to our own setups, and see if it's just cable management or if there's any particular things they have or things we could potentially get. And yeah, let's get into it.
In this video, I'm going to show you all of the Sidemen setups and we're going to be ranking them from best to worst. And this is my tier list. Starting from the top, we've got cable managed by the
Okay, there's already one issue. There's only 7 Sidemen. How are there 6 tiers? The tier list is going to be very
gods, followed by top tier content produced here. Solid build, good vibes, functional, but room for improvement.
Okay.
Doesn't even have a standing desk.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to do this to you, Josh, but you've got a category of your own because I haven't.
It's because in the past year he's done every setup except Josh's. Or like since maybe summer 21 he did Toby's, then Simon's, then went on a whole thing and did Vic's last. Josh hasn't even had a turn. It's just been the same for ages.
Even been at your house yet. Now all of them have pretty
Since
great
like the start of
with a
Circuit
lot
Thursdays.
of horsepower behind them. There's no losers here, but somebody has to come last.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a domain, website, or an online store,
I think it's not even like Josh's next. It's called Simon's next because he's got his house and stuff.
with Squarespace.
Now everybody's going to have an opinion on which setup they think is the best, which is fine, and I feel uniquely qualified to comment and critique these setups because I put them together myself. And as I do more of them, I'm learning new things. I'm also getting more feedback from you guys and understanding better on how to approach certain obstacles. So it's going to be interesting for me to look back on some of these setups and see how far I've come and what I'd do differently if I was going to design the setups knowing what I know now. Right, let's begin with the first setup that got me into all of this, which is Toby's. And he used to live with his brother Manny, but Manny moved out. So all of a sudden, Toby had a spare room and he wanted to separate his sleeping space and workspace. So this is Toby's setup before I did anything to it. And these monitors are crazy.
Very
You've
messy.
got ultra wide ones. You just feel like you're in a spaceship. So Toby gets extra immersion points. So he's got great visuals, great audio. Then he's got 2 key lights and he had a bunch of stuff on his desk.
So he has
everything.
everything.
Sound mixer, an audio interface, obviously a keyboard. He's got a stream deck and we transformed it to this. Looking back at it now.
Okay, the monitors need to be on clamps because these monitors are taking way too much space. You should have clamped them to the 3 sides.
He definitely needs a bigger desk because look at how much those
even if you clamp the monitors
off on the sides. I'd also opt in for some sort of monitor arm, just so the stands aren't taking up even more desk space. Also upgraded his camera, so his camera is very crisp. His lighting stayed the same. Cable management is not too bad. It could be better. You see some cables coming from the speakers and to the computers. I feel like I managed to rescue this setup by giving Toby some good
What is that chest to draw underneath? Surely that gets in the way of his legs.
Room vibes. Now I bought these standing lamps and they're in the corner of his rooms.
Also this key light, if it's meant to be a T for Toby, it's not good.
The room a really nice glow. Also during this build, Toby wanted a secondary camera, which we mounted right there in the corner. However, I think Toby experienced some problems with having a GoPro as a secondary camera. If I was to introduce a second camera to anybody's setups these days, it would not be a GoPro. They just don't hold up very well as a B cam. I would go for something like possibly a Sony ZV-1. So with this being my first build, looking back at it, there are things I could improve, but overall, I'm very happy with it. Also seeing his face light up when he saw his room, you know, kind of inspires me to want to continue making builds and transforming spaces for other people. So I think that passion for making setups was definitely ignited in this video. Where does Toby's setup rank on our tier list? Now Toby does produce top tier content. However, there are enough things that are making me feel like I want to improve this setup with.
It's a solid build, but
fit it into the solid build good vibes category. Not if, but when Toby eventually has his own space to work with, hopefully he can have me back and I'll show him what I can do now. And next up we've got Simon's setup. Now this one was definitely more of a challenge because
this one I feel like there was a lot of this was his test for a year. He did as much as he could in this place, so then he knows what he could do in his final, like his house now, his final house. But like this big TV thing, I don't think it was comfortable sitting on the floor. It was just a bit weird.
As a dual PC setup. So there was a lot more technical things that I didn't know about how to connect these PCs together. But thank goodness I had Viz. Another challenging thing was his room was completely empty. So I had to build a lot of the stuff. There was like a couple of shelves I had to make. And this setup took me 2 to 3 days, whereas someone like Toby's took me 1 solid day. He has 2 cameras. He had like a TV, which he hasn't used. And I think the whole reason for that is because I don't think his idea of having a TV to the side with a beanbag on the floor felt like a very comfortable way to stream. In the future, I think that beanbag could be upgraded to something like a sofa. And my whole method behind cable management on this desk was to actually build it and then wire every single device and cable tie it to the frame of the desk and then flip it over. However, I feel like I was let down by the cable management last minute when it came to hooking up two of these PCs together. He also had a very amateur sound system for somebody who uses his setup all the time, and we had to place the subwoofer in such an awkward spot. It was like in the middle, and there was like loads of little wires everywhere. After putting in such a hard graft in his desk and trying to cable manage everything, I feel like, yeah, I let myself down with cable management there towards the end. Monitor-wise, I think he's rocking 24-inch monitors, so in his future setup we could upgrade him. But you know what? The guy makes a lot of content.
If it's needed.
So for me, it's out of these three. Top tier content produced here, solid build, good vibes, and functional.
I say top tier.
With the shelves being lit up and a whole TV set up.
I say top tier, and then his current one is probably going to make it to the
I'm going to
top.
give Simon the top tier content is produced here. Also, the fact that he's got a dual PC setup as well brings him to the top tier level as well. And I'm really proud of this one. We took a complete empty room, we transformed it into that in the space of 3 days. All right, moving on to the one and only W2S. And yeah, he gave me this wooden desk, and I
feel
liked
like
it. It's just the top of the surface of it felt untreated.
I feel like it should have like a little thing over it, like a little, maybe transparent, but a little some sort of seal over it.
There could be potential for splinters later down the line.
Yeah.
Fun fact, this is my most viewed setup coming in at 2.4 million views.
Well, it feels
I don't even know
tired and dark.
I've actually not seen it anywhere in videos, unless I'm being wrong. I also feel like he had a lot of issues with his PC. On my side of things, I'm very proud of the final setup. It looks very clean and it's functional. But I feel like Harry gets the least benefit from his setup than everybody else. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to let people like Harry do the Harry things they need to do.
That is just Harry.
To get by. He's very particular when it came down to his camera. He wouldn't let me change his camera to something else. Oh, he's used his setup here. So for his background, he's got his Supreme board, he's got a darts board, a snowboard, a lot of boards on his backdrop. You know what? I take back what I said. The camera quality isn't that bad.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Wait, Sidemen. Okay, videos and reacts. Cool.
Oh wow, I'm just watching some of Harry's videos in W2S Plus, and I've seen that the third monitor he's mounted in a vertical position. That's interesting. I'm glad that the setup that was built for him, he's being able to customize it beyond what I've left it at. You know what? It seems like he's getting on perfectly fine with it. I know we had software issues with the Razer audio mixer. It was like a new thing that got released by Razer. I decided to try it. Big mistake. It had too many buggy problems with it, but we managed to replace it after a couple of days to the Go XLR, and then I heard no complaints since then. So overall, yeah, you know what? Harry's setup goes into functional, but room for improvement. But I think maybe the lighting with his background could change up a little bit. Again, it's something I didn't get an opportunity to do with Harry because he wanted to customize that himself. So for that, Harry, you get functional, but room for improvement. Next up, Ethan. Again, another 2-day build on this. I usually like doing 2-day builds because it allows me to have some buffer time in the middle to maybe order some extra cables or like little bits and bobs that I think I can improve on the day. I wrote a little list of the things I liked about Ethan's build, and on the top of the list it says sausage dog.
Wow.
And aside from all the Cat 6 cables, I feel like we've done a really clean cable management job on this one. However, there are some things that let Ethan down. One of them being the fact he was never subscribed to my channel. Okay. He is now, so that's fine. Also, found a fun little statistic, not very fun for me. It says that 74% of you that are watching my videos are not subscribed. How about
subscribe to Kon?
Click that
subscribe to
button.
me as
You'll
well.
be making my day, and it's free. Hey, let's just say this. Every time there's a new subscriber, a cable gets managed somewhere. I don't think he wanted that full man cave vibe. Just wanted a nice clean office. So he got some custom artwork done by Jamie Brindley, which acted as his background, and I like that. It was personalized. It was to his taste. He's got some West Ham stuff, so I've got some other cartoon stuff. Now in this setup, Ethan had my favorite work desktop, that's for sure. It's like a oak with an epoxy resin, and it looks very classy. One of the major upgrades that I offered to his setup, apart from good cable management, was a new camera. Now Ethan's rocking the A7S II with the 16 to 35mm G Master lens, and as you can see, he's got a lot of nice natural daylight coming into the room, which is enhancing his video quality as well. And then when it gets dark, he's got the key light airs. Now I decided to go with the key light airs for this build because the normal Elgato key lights are like twice the size, and for a room of that size, I think they'll just look a bit overpowering. So if I was to do anything, I'd probably free up more of his desk space by clamping them onto the desk. But the reason I didn't want to do that is because
it's a very
the
nice
made from like this
glossy
resin.
table.
Any sort of clamps that you have on your desk leave a mark, and I just didn't want to do that to his nice lovely desk. Another thing I'd do for his setup is tidy up the Cat 6 cables, as they looked a little bit untidy, crammed into that cable management box. And after reading your comments, apparently it's very easy to cut the Cat 6 cables, or should I say crimp them. So maybe perhaps next time I'm around there, I can sort that out for him. Overall, I had a really fun time building this, especially with Rolo around biting all my cables and stealing my microphone. And also hospitality points. Faith made us some banana bread. That was very lovely. So extra points there. However, Ethan, you don't have a standing desk. It's almost like this tier was made for you. You're straight up going into doesn't even have a standing desk category. Disgraceful, lad. You could be even at the top tier content produced here category just by upgrading yourself to a standing desk. As a videographer, I often get asked by clients if they can see my work. So having a website where
I wouldn't say top tier, I'd say one below that.
For multiple devices has helped.
I'd say the Toby tier.
And early into the build side setup, we took this man out of the Stone Ages and we brought him to the 21st century. And early
I still like this
setup. We took this.
I still kind of like this. It gives like a little like, I don't know. It just looks not comfortable, just like, you know, like, I don't know, not a 10-year-old setup, just like what you've had forever. It's just kind of cool. I don't know what it is, I just love it. The Panasonic monitors, wow. The cables, the PC, it's the massive box.
This man out of the Stone Ages, and we brought him to the 21st century. And early into the build, we ran into some planning permissions, which was technically nobody's fault. It's just a process you had to go through. And that process itself took about 3 to 4 months. It was a very frustrating time because myself, JJ, Daniel Asheville, who worked on the build of his room, we felt like we were in limbo. We couldn't do anything. And once everything was approved, we could get started with the build.
Oh,
there
this
is
is
a
the
whole
same table
video
he has
from
now.
Daniel Asheville that shows you the breakdown of everything that was made bespoke for his room. It's a very interesting video, you should check it out. It really showcases the excellent workmanship of all the craftsmen that were involved in the project of his room. And that process took about 6 weeks. And then after that, I spent 2 days in his bedroom completing the setup. And with the help of Viz, John, Jack, we all managed to do it together, and we finished it all in a space of 2 days. And after I finished the build, I had the footage, I had somebody help me edit it, and I just felt like this pressure on making like the best video ever, to the point where it stopped me from progressing in the edit. I had like almost like a writer's block. Every single comment on any video that I worked on was all about the setup, which became an annoying and frustrating process for me, to the point where I just kept putting it on the back burner, and all of a sudden it wasn't like
the pressure
something
got
I was really passionate about doing, just because of how much pressure it had around it. I just distracted myself with other stuff. So for the longest of times, that edit was just sitting there on my PC waiting to be finished up. But anyway, that's just life of a YouTube creator. There's a lot of projects I have going on at the same time. Yeah, that one took a back seat for a little while. More could have been done with the leather wall panels that are in front of him. They're a good sound absorber, but I think we could have added some sort of light feature there to make it stand out a bit more. Perhaps the black acoustic curtain could have been grey, just so it's not too dark around the corners of his room, because sometimes when you zoom out a lot, it makes you feel like you're watching a 4x3 type of video. But again, that stuff can be enhanced by, you know, adding a light in the corner of the dark space, or putting a plant in the background. The cable management on KSI's build is probably one of the cleanest ones I've ever done. You don't see anything on his floor, and that's because we got to customize the level the plug sockets got installed to. Deal with other builds, I kind of had to work with what was there. And when it came to his desk, I found a company that provides super big standing desks. They're like conference style desks. The width of it was 2.5 meters. and the depth of it was 1.2 meters. And that allowed me to fit 3 monitors comfortably with having enough space on the sides for other accessories such as his PC and his games consoles. Because everything was on the same level, again, it was easier to cable manage and route everything to his desk. Now, when it all moves up and down, it's all moving as one big unit. I was limited to what kind of desk I could get if I wanted that size, and unfortunately the leg options only came in white and silver. Another option that I could offer to JJ if he wanted to completely change the color of the legs of the desk is to spray paint it. I initially did try to wrap it. Because the desk legs go into each other, the wrap kept getting caught and ripped. So if JJ was really adamant on changing the color of the legs, spray paint them, but I think he's chill with how they are right now. So when it comes to rating the setup, I am gonna put JJ's into cable managed by the gods.
I think Ethan should be
to Toby's tier. It's god tier cable management right there. There's also other factors that set JJ's room apart from everybody else's builds. His whole room.
Because he's a gym lad, man. He can do a standing up at normal places.
Wallpaper, the leather padded walls at the front and back of his room, the neon legacy sign, even his shelf in the background, that was all custom built as well. His keyboard was custom built and it has a diamond encrusted keycap. That little key on the keyboard itself is like a $1,000 build, right? But that little key with the diamonds on it and the XIX engraving, that's like at least $1,000 as well. So yeah, I too myself dislike about how long it took, but it is what it is. And KSI possibly had the most animated and enthusiastic reaction to his setup out of everyone, and that itself was worth the wait. I mean, if you contrast him with the old videos to this one, you just see a complete change of energy, and I love that this setup has brought that out of him. It's the 1, 2, 3. Man, I cut down your Christmas tree. Arguably the best space to work in.
The room's so big.
I'm pretty sure that Vic has the biggest room, office out of everybody else in the Sidemen.
Yeah, now he has a DJ deck there as well.
Look, just got a big advantage over everybody else just because of the size and shape of the room.
He literally performed in Dubai.
Things that Vic does also share with JJ. His setup also took
early February,
but that's because he was working on the whole room throughout his whole year in the background, the sides doing like Sidemen videos and whatnot. And with the ceiling, he shares the same design as JJ with the stars in the sky. And I would have been disappointed if he didn't have the starlit ceiling just because it's Vic Star, you know? He deserves to have that kind of ceiling. So I didn't have any creative input on the whole space itself. That was all Vic, but I did set up his desk, and that took about 2 days as well. Now, Vic only had pretty basic requests and requirements, so there wasn't a lot of room to get creative with his setup. So I aimed to go for the most minimalistic style as possible, as well as meeting the theme of his room. So I got him a custom keyboard. As far as the ratings go, like, his room is very, very sick. However, the fact that I couldn't finish his monitors on the fact that it's not the most techiest of setups makes me feel like it belongs.
I don't know if I like this hexagon thing and the thing above. I don't know if I like these textures. Maybe in person they look better because they're never on camera because it's on the other side. But
in a solid build, good vibes category. Now with his cable management, I asked if Vic could make a little hole through the wall that connects his room to the storage room. And by doing that, that was like the most ultimate cheat code to cable management, because all the messy cables could just go through into that next room and they could be braided all into one sleeve. So it's very close to being in the category of cable managed by gods. However, the fact that I didn't get a chance to set up the third monitor and give him all the bells and whistles, like an audio mixer and all the other high-tech gear, it's gonna have to go down to solid build but good vibes. It could go into the top tier content produced here, but Vic doesn't do much content, not as much as Simon. The room is so nice. So yeah, solid build, good vibes. There you go. I also love the fact that when I uploaded this video, I was on 1.23 mil subs. I don't know how that coincidence happened, but it's just one of those satisfying things you love to see. And the standing desk, the maximum height it could go up to was 123. Oh my God, we're in a simulation. We're in the 123 world. That's pretty much, Josh. Well, we all know where Josh is going. He already had his own category, and that is because I've not even been round to his house yet. Back in 2020, when we were still making Zerka Thursdays videos, we were gonna do a video for Josh upgrading his room.
I feel like this was,
you know what? It's not bad. He has improved his room over the times. It's just the fact that he hasn't had a refresh since then, which is why he's all the way at the bottom so far. So no standing desk. He's probably running quite an old PC. He was one of the first people to use a proper mirrorless camera as his webcam out of all the boys. So you know what? Josh was just way ahead of his time, but now time's caught up to him. But hey, listen, if it's functional for you, then that's all good. Listen, Mr. Zerka, when you have a new space to work with, give me a shout. Let's do something cool. Create you a cool custom background. We'll give you a standing desk. Also, as a top tier streamer, you need to be rocking the dual PC setup. So yeah, you can stay over at the bottom there until you get yourself a standing desk, a dual PC setup, and a better beard. sorry, that was uncalled for. Who am I to talk about beards when all I can do is
relax, Con.
I've got no right to chat about beards. Sorry, Josh, you don't deserve that. And there you have it, the Sidemen setups from best to worst. Again, another disclaimer, none of these setups are bad, but somebody obviously had to come in.
They're relative to them.
Also, some of these setups will be changing throughout.
Obviously, even Josh is the worst, right? Everyone in the world would want Josh's setup. Like, compared to theirs, most people.
Tier list is subject to change.
Yeah, that was a sick video. We saw basically a summary of all the setups he's done except Josh's, because Josh hasn't had one yet. But yeah, that was Konstantin reviewing the Sidemen setups. Great video. Subscribe to Con, because as he said, and subscribe to me as well while you're there. And I'll see you guys in a bit. Catch you in a bit, and peace.